Welcome to Night Shadows. I'm Stewart Best, where the paranormal is normal, where that which you thought you knew, you didn't, and where the future can be known if you know exactly where to look.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for tuning in and listening. And we got Larry on his phone there down in the Southland. Hi, Larry. How's it going?
Oh, just trying to stay warm. It's still cold down here.
Yeah, it's supposed to be down well below zero tonight, and I guess it's supposed to start to warm up a little bit. If it gets up to 10, it'll be a tropical heat wave. So it's the way it rolls. Before we get rolling, I wanted to notify everybody that all of our email folders, addresses, everything have been destroyed. I got on the email list this morning and absolutely nothing came up. And so I shut down everything, hoping that it was just a glitch in the system. It came back up. And all the email folders have been destroyed. All sent emails have been destroyed. All trash and junk mail. Actually, I do keep part of that until when I get time I go through it to make sure I haven't thrown something away that shouldn't be. All destroyed by Microsoft Outlook. So anyway, bear with us. But if you want to be notified directly, send us an email. To enigma@trueinsight.com, and so we can reply. They're doing this all over. They are hacking, they are destroying, and they want this because they cannot have truth in the New World Order. You have no idea what's coming, the tyranny that is coming upon this nation. Very soon, what you're going to hear, like we will, on Blog Talk Radio, your podcast has been canceled because it does not comply with the Ministry of Truth guidelines. Therefore, your account has been permanently suspended. This is what's going on, folks. It's coming your way. And if you're watching the hearings, if you want to know how you spot liars, all you got to do is watch the impeachment hearings. I have never in my life seen such absolute, total liars. These communist Democrats, if they succeed, it's all going to be on the heads of the American people who would not do anything to stop it. And I'm not just including the Democrats in this either. We got a whole bunch of Republicans that are likewise involved in this sham system. The impeachment of so-called impeachment of Donald Trump is really an impeachment of the American people, of all faiths, of all political persuasions. It is designed to destroy the Congress and the Constitution, to bring in the long-awaited chaos and then martial law and the rise of the Antichrist system. Psalm 2 does not exclude any world leader. All are complicit, according to Psalm 2, and they all await their doom and eternal ruin if they do not repent. And I wrote a blog, and it's on the Blog Talk, not Blog Talk, but Lightgate blogger and the Lightgate blogger. It's called The Impeachment. I advise everybody to go read it. We are under severe judgment, folks, and I really don't have time to read it because we got a lot of stuff that Larry and I got to really go after. And I'd like to start here, Larry, with something you posted. It's called headline, Russia's top general warning that World War III is coming in a chilling prediction. You might remember that Vladimir Putin said World War III was coming. It was coming. You may remember Barack Hussein Obama said World War III was coming, and It could not be stopped. We are on the precipice of this. What do you think about this thing, Larry? I've got the whole article that it came from. It's amazing what they're saying. What's your comment on that? What's your opinion on
it? If you watch mainstream media in America, basically, you wouldn't know a thing about it. But you're exactly right. Obama warned about it, because, he knew because he was working to get us there.
Yes.
But, the Russians for some time has been trying to warn us. And, of course, what do we hear in America? Russia, Russia, Russia. And guess what? What's Trump done for 3 years? He's tried to keep us out of wars.
Yes.
Wars. And the deep state will not have it. So, we're going to war. I mean, not too many people that's got any, even half sense don't already realize that, but they're not going to say nothing. I think Art Bell was really a little short when he said they wouldn't even stand up to change a bad channel. They don't even want to watch. They're too lazy. I can't tell the American people, they won't even say no more impeachment crap, but they won't say it.
Well, what's amazing to me is in these surveys, and I don't believe these polls that they take. They're fixed. If you don't know how the question was asked, the answers and the poll numbers don't mean anything. You have to know how they asked the question. They never show you that anymore. They used to, but they don't now. There is no question that if 50%, if the poll is real, which I doubt it, that 50% of the American people favor impeachment, this country's gone. We've lost this country. What we have is a bunch of lying snowflakes out there, and they're going to be destroyed. Mark my words, they will be destroyed. God has spoken many, many times in the past and to us. And I get a lot of emails, America's not Babylon. Unfortunately, yes, it is. And unfortunately, whether you believe it or not, is totally, completely immaterial. America's going down because Babylon is going down. And everybody points to Rome, or they point to Jerusalem, that great city. None of them fulfill the parameters, the descriptions that God gave to easily identify who these nations are. If a young kid, 6 years old, went up to a general in the military and started reciting what the Lord has given us to describe the nation as well as the city, he would simply, after this little boy had read these to the general and asked the general, "Who is that?" The general would reply, "It is the United States of America, and it is New York City, the great city, Babylon." So it doesn't make any difference whether you will accept it, believe it, or not. You are going to live through it. And you are going to have your loved ones look in your face and say, "Why didn't you do something? Why have you allowed this to happen?" And you're not going to have any answers. And you're going to watch your kids taken away from you. Larry even had a vision about that. UFOs came down. We know there's an arrival. I don't know if you all watched the movie Knowing with Nicolas Cage, and all these black stones that were given to the children all over the world, and they were taken away. And this is what's going to happen to the American people. You want to go read what I wrote in the blog. Yes, it's a story. Yes, it would never happen in truth here, because God doesn't work that way. He's already given us the warnings. So I made it into a story, and it's harsh. It's cold. And if you think God is a snowflake of lovey-dovey, you better read Matthew chapter 7, where he sends away the vast majority of the Christians into eternal ruin. And he tells you why he sent them there. And what we're watching in Washington is the destruction of the United States by the communists who are wrapping themselves in the flag of the United States and the Constitution and the defense of the Constitution. Always remember one thing. Communists always accuse you of doing what they are doing, and that's what you're watching. When you listen to Schiff or Nadler or Pelosi or Schumer or any of these communist deep state people, they're putting what they are doing on the opposition. Personally, I think they're both involved in it because Psalm 2 says they're both involved in it. Anyway, getting back to this Russian thing, so I don't get off in a real rant. Let me read part of this. Russia has just launched a nuclear-capable avant-garde missile test. They're developing weapons that are going to take us out. You may have remembered, Larry, maybe, what was it, a year ago or 2 years ago, that we saw articles appearing about Russian telemetry and how they had advanced their telemetry to within a couple of yards. They could hit any target in the United States within a couple of yards. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And that is exactly a fulfillment, people, of the Bible in Jeremiah, where the Lord says that these marksmen hit their mark dead center. And then we have these articles appearing about Russia's telemetry systems being so accurate in their multiple warhead missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles. They're doing another one. Now, here's what the Chief General said. He believes the West are preparing for a large-scale military conflict. Now, obviously, they're going to say that. And remember that the Russians have been probing with their bombers and their ships. In fact, there's an article out about one of their Russian trawlers is out there running around just offshore, obviously listening to everything they can find out about what's going on. Anyway, he was speaking at a senior briefing for the military, saying that the West has assigned adversary status to Russia. And the general pointed out NATO summit in London wanted faster deployment to the eastern flank. NATO and Russia have shipped tons of military hardware to their frontiers in Eastern Europe. Both regularly accuse the other of aggression over the buildup, and the general warned this could accidentally spiral into a conflict between Russia and NATO, in other words, World War III. Now, we know World War III is coming, and we know from Bible prophecy in Ezekiel that the United States is going to be taken out by, guess what? Missiles. And we don't know what else the Lord has in store for America. You cannot accept the blessings of the that God gave to America, then turn around, give him the finger, and just destroy whatever he has said. I've never seen such foolishness. Have you, Larry? I can't believe it.
Oh, it's beyond the pale, Stewart. It's actually Barry Rothman's stupidity virus, the way Americans operating at the present time. We're actually appear to have a death wish as a nation, Stewart.
Yeah, we're on a suicide run. Maybe the suicide rate in the United States that is climbing rapidly now in all walks of life, from the young all the way up to the elderly, is just a forewarning of the national suicide that we're on and what we're watching in Washington. And if the American people cannot figure out what's really going on, they deserve what they're going to get. I got an email from somebody who said, we don't deserve this stuff. Yes, you do, folks. Yes, you do. Or God is not a just God. He says he's going to destroy you. Well, he must have a good reason or he wouldn't do it. Anyway, the general said that a large-scale war could easily spiral out of a very small conflict. While there is no groundwork of a major war before 2050, which is probably not true, it's probably much closer than that, there could be conflict as it remains unstable. He said there are currently no prerequisites for a large-scale war. At the same time, the situation in the world remains unstable, and its development is becoming more and more dynamic. In such conditions, we can't rule out that crisis could emerge that may get out of control and develop into a large-scale military conflict. Unprecedented political, economic, and information pressure is exerted on states trying to pursue an independent policy, including Russia. He's talking about the global state. We must be prepared for any scenario of the development of the situation. Therefore, the defense potential of Russia will now and in the future be maintained at a level required to repel any large-scale aggression against our state from any environment. What do you make of that, Larry? I think they're telling us, watch out, because we will take action. What do you think?
Well, I think that their warning is valid. And as a matter of fact, I was listening to Gordon Chang. You know, he's the China expert today, and we know China's an incredible enemy. Anyway, Gordon Chang says we're in trouble because phase one of the trade deal with China says the president is listening to the New World Order group advisors, and Trump is now to remove tariffs to make a trade agreement deal with China, and says China's a great problem, but Trump advisors are making calls to embrace China. He says, not good. He says, we're in trouble, and Trump's not listening to the truth tellers.
Well, it's kind of like his love for Kimmy the Whiz Kid there in North Korea. And,
well, Kim, yeah. I was just going to say before we go too far, Kim's already threatened to literally give us a Christmas surprise. So he's up to something.
Yeah. Well, of course, you know, Kimmy and Trumpy Bear there are good buddies and good pals. And Trump may be extremely intelligent, but I do think he's a little bit gullible. And, you know, he's basing this on personal friend to friend. A lot of his foreign treatment is based upon that, and you know, rather than the reality. North Korea is never going to give up their nuclear ambitions. Never. They are aided and abetted by China and Russia. And as I've said before, I think they have weapons we don't even know they've got. And yes, Larry, that Christmas present might be something we don't want. And by the way, you heard something, and I don't know, I can't remember where you got it, I didn't write down the names, where a prophecy or something said we probably wouldn't even have Christmas. What was that about?
Oh, that was a letter that Augusto Perez read on his mailbag show this week, and it was from a prayer warrior that said that they had been told that because of where America was going, you know, with no repentance, and there's been multiple prophecies, there is no repentance, and God has took notice. And we don't even hear the words, Stewart. It's almost like Psalm 2. We don't hear that either. But what's interesting is, in this note, message, it said that they were shown that apparently something was going to happen, that we were not going to have a Christmas like we'd ever had before. It's all changing. And, hey, what's Christmas, next week?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, Sunday is the 22nd, and that's the beginning of Hanukkah, I believe. And then on the 26th, we have the Ring of Fire solar eclipse. And I was listening to Pastor Begley, and he had an interview with Mike from around the world. There are people who say he's a fake and all this stuff. So, you take everything with a grain of salt. We just don't know. But Mike from around the world had warned us that there was going to be a cosmic wave coming through on the 10th, and it did. And then we had the White Island volcano go off at the peak of that. And he warned that another one was coming through 16th, 17th, and 18th. And I got this from Steve Quayle. I want you to comment on it, Larry. Mount Apo and why the Philippine earthquakes matter to the United States and North American continent. Now, we could have a major quake hit the United States anytime. Could be before Christmas. We don't know if the letter was true or whether the prophecy is true. But Mike did say that in January we should really start to look out because these cosmic waves are growing in intensity and length. Okay, so here's what was on Quayle's, I don't know what he calls that, alerts, I guess. The old baseline of quake energy on the low side was every 3 to 5 minutes, with 2 on the scale quakes building up to 5.5, then down to 2 for a rise again to 5.5 over a short time. The new baseline is now 3.0 on the scale, going to 5.9 to 6. This is not good. This is not a good sign. It is like cooking firecrackers and hoping they do not explode. Now, if anyone asks why does what happens in Asia matter to the USA, well, the answer is simple. The Philippine plate is rocking hard and banging the Pacific plate like it has never been banged before. It is like taking a sledgehammer and banging the nails into the earthquake zones and hammering on the whole west coast. Also, the same is happening in Indonesia and Japan, more quakes. And if we look at the timing of the quakes, they are all perfectly, yes, I said perfectly timed and tuned to work together as a set to hammer the Pacific plate into the North American plate. The action at Ridgecrest has not slowed down as the folks are trying to hope it will all go away, but it is not going away, for that is for sure. Also, we know the North American plate has to be under great stress because the new Madrid fault line is opening up, cracks in the ground, and short, intense quakes as the grounds open up. Now, I was not aware of that at the New Madrid, and that is a zone, if that New Madrid quake were to take place and split the nation, and it comes right down through the mid-continent rift zone, America would be destroyed just by that alone. Have you heard any more about earth changes that you want to bring up, Larry?
Well, that was a very powerful. Yeah, that was a very powerful earthquake that hit the Philippines, and that was really following that wave that you were talking about, which did occur. And what's interesting is the Topo, or the White Island volcano, Standeo says is the beginning of the zipper. In other words, that could literally unzip even to Topo, which is a super volcano. So that we got a lot to watch, and the West Coast is still rocking. It's every day, multiple swarms every single day on that plate.
Yeah, it's folks, we're on a judgment. Here's another one. Keep your eyes on Puerto Rico. Very serious earthquake and undersea volcanic activity taking place. Hello, Steve, From available data, it appears that the following is indeed true. There is an underwater volcano lighting up there. The fault line is splitting open, and there are quakes up and down the fault line as well as cracks in the earth. The whole fault line now is being scanned daily. That's why they're out there with these aircraft. I think they know, don't you, Larry, that something big is coming. Big.
From the information I've seen with Q alerts, it seems to indicate, and it's backed up by other people like Dutch Sense and others, that they're really concerned all the way from the West Coast to Yellowstone and back, and it's all magma.
Yeah, they tried to silence Larry Parks. Remember Larry? I interviewed him once, and very, very interesting guy. He wrote a book about the secrets of earthquakes, and it was amazing. They silenced him. They told him to shut up. Here's another thing from Steve. Back chatter among the movers and shakers, as well as geologists and scientists out of country concerning major West Coast 7+ earthquakes in the very near future. Have you heard from your friend about quakes?
He's been quiet. He's been quiet the last week or so, but he says he feels the floor rocking where he's living, which is in California, daily. So there's a lot going on. It's just not been, most of our news on earthquakes and volcanoes has been covered up. We're not hearing much.
Yeah. Well, they don't want. In fact, who was it? James McKinney, in one of his books about the incoming destroyer and whatnot, said that the scientists have been silenced by the government. They don't want anybody to know what's really going on because they're afraid it would maybe collapse the economy. Not that it's already not collapsing, but we're in trouble, folks. Judgment is coming. I mean, there's no way around it. And here's a headline before we close. I only did a half an hour. Democrat Congress tells banks, next crisis, you keep all depositors' funds, IRAs, and their deposits. There will be no bailouts from Congress. I don't know if you realize that, folks. When you put your money in the bank, it is now called an investment. They can steal every dime if they need to bail themselves out, and you end up penniless. Just a word to the wise. We live in such a wonderful, corrupt nation, and it's just going to get worse, and there's nothing you or I or anybody really can do about it. It's just the way it is. Anyway, any final word there, Larry?
Yeah, it looks like the impeachment is passing on through tonight, and I just wonder almost if heaven's watching, if there will be a response in the next few days to what they're planning.
I would think there will be, and you never know how the Lord's going to respond on these kind of things. It's always a mystery, but respond he usually does. And it's too bad. What we're watching, folks, is the destruction of the United States. You can kiss America goodbye because we're not going to. Trump may succeed. If the Lord wants him to stay in office, he'll be in office no matter what they try. But when the Lord lifts his hand from Donald Trump, look out, and trouble is coming. Anyway. It's just too bad that we're in where we're at, and on Friday we'll get into some of this a lot more. And there's so much going on all around the world, particularly in Earth changes, UFO sightings. 2019 was one of the largest ever UFO sighting years. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you Friday night if the Lord is willing, and we certainly hope he is. So thanks a lot, Larry, for coming on, and thanks everyone for listening. Good night now.